Hey, it's Mike from Religion Dystopia again, and in this video, I've mirrored a couple other videos. One I got from Chris Miller, another one I got from Sean G from his show while he was interviewing Brown Dwarf, of some supportive evidence that what we're dealing with when it comes to Sasquatch or Bigfoot is not something that's solely flesh and blood, but is actually primarily spiritual, and as the Native Americans and many other cultures claim that it is a spirit that comes out of the trees. So, you just kind of have an idea. So we have a tree, right? Let's say that's the tree branch. The interesting thing about trees are they're like the neurons to the earth. Now, if somebody who sees or films these things, which I have and numerous others, will say we see an image of a figure, something like this. This is arm. Sorry about. I don't care how bad the drawing is. You'll figure it out. Right? And they'll have something like this, maybe some fingers like this, always fingers. Right? That's what they call them, peepers. Peepers. Right? So you'll see this thing. It's peeping. They'll film it. We've all done it numerous times. And then, voila, instead of being able to follow the thing or that, it disappears. Disappears into the trees. Now, also the guys also talked about totems, which I've been telling people about this forever and a day. What you have all these. I'll tell you that they're spiridolia, right? You'll see these things and they'll stack up. Then you'll have the entities coming off the side. And just whatever you call them or not, it doesn't really matter. They stack up. So you want to look at that. The funny thing is, for 6 years, I've been telling people that. Finally, people started several years ago to really start taking it seriously. People talk about. Do I got silver here? Gray. Well, I don't think I have. We'll just pretend this gray is silver. You talk about. You can't see. People talking about when they have an out-of-body experience. OBE. Well, in some way or some form, an OBE of a spirit can happen too. And then you have your magical Bigfoot, right? He pops out for a short while. Scares a person. He's connected to this silver cord. All right. Which allows him then to go in and out of this host. The tree is a host. It's the same thing that happens to us. Now, I know this is going to very sound Christianese or religious, but just forget about it. The Christian part and the religious part. This is just how the world works. So it's got the life force out of this tree. There are moments when the silver cord is severed. Now it's no longer connected to the source, the host, so it can just go boom right into it. And we have this thing, some people will call a portal, which is a rip in the fabric of space and time. In other words, another dimension. And it will end up going here. And once it goes in here, then he is no more seen. Which is interesting. When you think about it, you'll have a footprint or two of something that's supposed to be 800 pounds. And if anybody ever tried to press any kind of weight like that, and you would have on the soil, the ground, or snow, or whatever, you have multiple footprints. Once it gets into this right here, right? Now, what you how do I introduce? Okay. One of the things to remember, you see this thing called an orb, right? Which is coming out of the tree, which is the host. The orb is actually a spirit, and it doesn't have to just be a human spirit, which is orb spirit. So orb spirit, right? That orb, now he's going in there. He's going through this dimension of time, the fabric of time and space. Time. And well, that's even worse than normal. Time and space, a dimension. That's a basic definition of a dimension. It's time and space, right? Right, it can do that. By the way, this is not the only way to go about it. Even if the cord is severed from the life force of this, what happens is that this entity and multiple entities, because they are coming out, drawing out the life force of the tree, it will die. Which creates, how that happens is it produces radiation. And in different forms. One is electromagnetic radiation. Magnetic. If I can't spell something right, don't worry about it. You got the idea. And if you can't even see it, don't worry about it. So magnetic radiation. There's a strong correlation too with what's going on with Wi-Fi in the ether. So either they go in this portal, which eventually will find its way back to the host or a new host. What happens to the tree? It dies. I'm just doing this on the whim, okay? So it's like I'm not going to spend hours in a day. I'll let one of you guys do it. And you can figure it out. So anyways, so that dies. And generally, when it's more than just a spirit, it's spirits. Many times it's spirits that make up this image that you have that's a Bigfoot. I've seen numerous images in which you'll see very closely it is not something to do with it's some artifact from filming of the camera. It's actually literally a whole bunch of archons or spirits, small spirits that hook together and create a new spirit or something that looks bigger. Have you ever noticed a lot of times with these quote unquote Bigfoot and Sasquatch, these images, you'll notice that their faces are all, contorted. The eyes aren't quite lined up. It's just they're a mess. So where are we at with this? So there's multiple spirits that live in this tree. It's a tree. It's a sentient being, and no matter what, I understand it might not fit the definition of what many people want it to be, but those trees live for many, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of years, as we know. It is grounded in the earth. With the elementals and the ether. Do I spell it right? I guess that's how you spell it. I know I didn't spell that right, but anyways, it doesn't matter. So the air, right? Air is full of plasma. The ground is full of plasma. This is full of plasma. Our bodies are full of plasma because blood is different densities, and I don't know what the right terminology is for it, but there's densities and power or strength. It's not using the right word. Scientifically, it doesn't matter. There's different densities of plasma. You can think, blood. There's very thin blood and there's very thick blood, right? And there's blood that turns hard, right? When the life force and essence of this tree is drained out, and which is necessary for this thing to produce itself visually, and it's always brief. There's not like your people are hanging out and having lengthy, long videos of quote unquote Sasquatch, right? Many times, if you go back to the silver cord in this thing, you'll see these entities, and they're always around trees and in the forest for the most part. Sometimes you'll see them if it's a field or something like that. But it's from one, patch of woods to another patch of woods, right? Anyways, and you'll notice that a lot of times you see it just glides. It's just effortlessly, like a spirit. So I just wanted to bring that up. I'm going to watch a couple of these images. I know this is it's not a documentary. This is me just on the fly making a video, okay? And for those who have ears to hear, they'll hear. Those who have eyes to see, and they'll see. Those who've had experience, they'll say, oh, yeah, this is exactly what's going on. You know what I mean? In order, I strongly believe, the longer and the more the image is of this that looks like what we call Sasquatch or Save, the more it has to draw off the energy of these trees, the essence of the trees. And so then you when we talk about the trees, once the tree is dead, tree leans, tree twist, whatever. You know, it has these branches that eventually dry up and die. These spirits at night, they peel off the branches. Just to pretend that represents the peeling off the branches. Then they through the air, where you're not seeing and no one else is seeing. These spirits I just making it simple, right? And there could be multiple ones of them. Cause it to travel through the air. And there's some subtle clues you'll find in scriptures and all that, like this seal of Solomon, or if you remember when Solomon, his temple and all that, they talk about how they made these big temples and all that kind of stuff, or how they were interacting in groves, and there's a reason why they're in the groves. Then they take those trees, little ones, and they make their, laying these little branches, right? Also, many times they use that they'll have a main, like a tree, larger tree, still alive, with branches, is the centerpiece for their, this is just one of many. They also like to do little X structures, right? And they implant them in the ground. Or they make their teepees. And of course, this is all happening at night. There's no one's ever I heard of that's documented or proven or filmed when these things are doing it. And when they're, you see, because these are spirits made up of plasma or energy. And here's another thing, energy. They also have all of them all around. And for the ether, we'll just say these little round balls represent spirits. And by the way, they're a lot more frightening looking, and they come in different levels and degrees. This is part of the mystery, so the mystery school. You'll say a lot of the occult, you'll see X everywhere for a reason. It's symbolic, and it has something to do with, it represents the crossing or over of two dimensions, right? Or opening or a portal. What do they do in these like teepee structures? Obviously they're not living in there, and it's not a structure to live in. Especially for something that's 800 pounds or more, or 1,200 pounds or whatever, right? Teepee tree structures. Many of us think it has something to do with signaling an area where there is a portal, but we don't know that for sure. But for some reason they do. I guess you got to do something with all the dead trees that you've created. And so that's what. So you just think the atmosphere is full of spirits. You'll never see, over here, you never witness a tribe of Bigfoot carrying these trees that have been stripped of their branches over here to make a next structure or teepee structure. It's because it's not Bigfoot that's doing it alone. This is part of the deception, whether intentional or not. Many times we end up deceiving each other, not out of ignorance, right? We don't mean to. So the air, to just make it simple, it's full of water, air, plus H2O is a form of, or the ether is full of energy. And in this realm, nothing can live without H2O. Some things can live a long time with very little of it, but you need air, oxygen, and all the other elements in the air, along with H2O, in order to create energy. The air, or the ether, is composed of multiple dimensions that you and I cannot see. These dimensions are all around us. They're actually within us too. This is very basic, but apparently it's gone over everyone's head when it comes to the quote-unquote Bigfoot community. So the air is made up, plus oxygen creates energy, which is multiple dimensions. Nothing can live without water. Even the Bible talks about, it's a not so subtle hint. A lot of people, you need to, how do I say this? Studying the Bible, you're going to find contradictions. You are going to find contradictions. And you're going to find allegories, and you're going to find puns, and you're going to find stories. Sometimes even fictional characters, right? But there's truth hidden within those scriptures. Not only about multiple layers. It all depends on how much you're willing to hear it. If you get stuck in religion, you're not going to hear the truth. But Jesus talks the story about the person being delivered by an unclean spirit. That now his body or home or her home becomes a vessel, an avatar, an open vessel. It's all swept and clean inside, waiting for something else to inhabit it. If it's not going to inhabit something that's in line with, hopefully there's the creator God, right? Christ. Guess what comes back? 7 times more. Then it also tells you that these spirits, don't like dry places. See, the thing is, people take it all, they get lost in the religion instead of looking in what might be even greater truths. Spirits don't, why is it not moving the way I want it to? Don't our own spirit doesn't like it. In fact, our spirit will not dwell in our own meat suit. If our meat suit, if we don't get sufficient amount of water, they say about 3 to 4 days with the lack of water, they say that the meat suit will perish, and your spirit can't handle it either. So spirits don't like dry places. This is not a religious thing. This is a universal truism that's throughout this realm. You don't need to be a Christian or anything else to understand this. You don't need to be a Muslim or a Satanist or anything else to understand this. Or be a member of whatever imaginary version of Illuminati that you're in. I can tell you one thing, these guys, these recruiters on, and it doesn't matter, on YouTube, that I wouldn't follow any of those guys. You want to join Illuminati, join a gang. Anyways, although I don't recommend it. So spirits don't like dry places. The air, right? This whole creation that we live in, the world, is a water world. Maybe a better way to say it is the realm is a water world. Okay? Predominantly, most times when people see, quote unquote, a sighting of a Sebe, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever, there is water, there are trees, there's vegetation, there's earth, all the basic elements. Rocks is a very important thing, not just caves. I noticed where I'm at, my location to the west of me, there are limestone quarries. A creek that runs through my town. And there's a couple of other streams that branch off that run into that kind of divide up the town. In these ravines, you'll find lots of trees, water, rocks. Actually, with the teepee structure, which I saw a couple months ago, which I saw again today, and it's amazingly close to a house too. But I guess people don't really pay attention, or maybe they do pay attention and they don't care. A lot of people don't even care. They think it's kind of cool. So, and you got to remember, not everyone sees the world the way you see it. In fact, no one will ever see the world the way you see it. So the just not even a tenth of a mile north to where the teepee structure is, there is a power line cut out in the woods, the forest, where you always hear about these tall power lines, right? So you have major forces, plus the town itself with the high wires, and we even have a power station in the middle of town too. It's real close to where the sightings, both of my sightings, all my sightings were, in fact. So within a quarter of not even a quarter of a mile, eighth of a mile, ninth of a mile, something. It wasn't very far. How many hundreds of yards? And so, maybe this is what's why I'm here in this gosh-forsaken place is to bring this up. I'm talking about the place that I live right now. You have electricity, high voltage, high levels of electricity. You have water. Water is a great conductor of electricity. Spirits do not like dry places. Trees, as human beings, are like 80% water, as everything is. So every sentient being is when we see the meat suit, you see my meat suit, I see your meat suit. We only see the exterior, the avatar that we walk around in this realm. We do not see the true spirit that's inside you, nor do we see other accompanying spirits. That can be legions, it says. And it's true. It turns out that they can have legions. And he said, well, then the argument is how many legions? It really doesn't matter. Oh, he'll have a lot of spirits. So it could be 1,000, 2,000, it could be 200,000, maybe 2 million. It doesn't matter. Most people think that these archons are spirits, or angels, are only just a particular size, but this turns out not to be the case. As they are shapeshifters, they can not only change their appearance, either collectively as a group, and so, or as individually. So if you look at where this image here, where this entity that someone for some reason calls a tulip spirit or people, which is ridiculous. if we were to look at this more accurately, it is not a spirit, but is a collection of spirits. And notice, that there's a connection with electricity, light, water, vapor, water, H2O, the ether, trees, which can eventually start to morph using the essence. As you can see here, you can start to see there's the two eyes, there's a frowny face, the nose, a cone shape. It's absorbing the essence of the trees. You can see another one. I showed you this guy before. This is and in this image too, you can even say an alien form into the two black eyes. And what they are doing is they're absorbing the essence, the life force of the trees, creating their teepee structure or whatever, that eventually can then become something that manifests physically, which we will now look at some of the images of how they can do that as well. So yeah, it's pretty simple once you start looking at it. The biggest problem is that you're going to have to look outside. You're going to have to, which are ironic, you're going to have to take some basic principles of the scientific method, of quantum physics, whatever that means. Basically, that there's something that's electricity and plasma, and that there's something that's beyond what we can see with our naked eyes is going on all the time. Religion and many of the religious texts do have hidden information. Most people assume they have to read the Bible or the Quran or some other religious text in order to join a religion. Now, religion is a snare, just as being fanatical about science itself. That science or scientists, or people who are trying to apply the scientific method or claiming to, are now all pure-hearted and want to know the truth, right? Or could care less, or care if they tell you the truth, and they would never lie because they cherish the scientific method so much. Well, there are scientists out there, and just like for anyone else that cares about the truth, you will be kicked to the curb. You'll be kicked out of the club, and you won't know the truth. So you're going to watch these videos, and then I guess we'll call it a day, or maybe I'll make some comments or afterwards, excuse me. But it's, and it's just making a video. And it's not like I'm like, man, I got to spend 20 hours making a video. I'm not going to do that. So I've done that in the past, and I got no rewards out of that either. So, and the more honest you are about things, the more censored you are in mainstream media. So this is only for those people that really are been chosen to see, and if you are chosen to see, I don't know if it's a blessing or not. You're just chosen to see, and I guess it's up to you. You do the next thing, with it, because it's a burden to know the truth and hold on to it. It's a good way to deaden your soul. Hey, it's Mike. It's old Religion Dystopia. I want to show you a video I got from Chris Miller, who's a good artist that does very interesting art concerning Bigfoot. Anyways, this is from, was it something University, Sasquatch University, Cryptid University, I don't know what it is. But check this out. I'm not even sure if it's seen from them, to be honest with you. They just mirrored it. But this is more evidence for me that proves that this is tree spirits that... Let's see what I need to do here first. Oh, I am recording. Wait. Notice a couple things. This is the tree. There's this big, supposed to be this big 800-pound beast, right? That magically the whole lower half of it cannot be seen. And magically, what does it do? It just disappears literally. What appears to be like disappearing behind a tree, I argue is disappearing in the tree. Now, I don't think Chris was intending on me sharing this video for that purpose, but it's just another example of how I've been trying to say forever and a day, and others that no one gets, apparently no one takes seriously, but yet we're the ones telling you the truth, and everyone else, you ain't gonna find that in Mary Ape Man, he'll be out there somewhere. Oh yeah. They magically pop in and out of trees. I know it's something that a lot of people can't handle or accept. I can't handle acceptance because of the indoctrination that you've received in your modern public school system's educational system, in which they try to tell you that the spiritual things are all just nonsense. Yet other people are trying to tell us for thousands of years that it's not nonsense. So we have this weight of evidence from thousands of other cultures for thousands of years saying that this is a interdimensional spiritual entities, right? And we have not even 50 years of a few Mr. Know-it-alls. Usually they're anthropologists or something like that, right? You got some kind of degree that, or psychologists, right? That have been weaponized by governments and particularly military to promote propaganda. Because here's a few things. If we were honest about it and that the spiritual nature of those things, well then, first of all, 90-some% of all those that call themselves cryptid researchers would be kicked to the curb for not bringing this up and being more honest about it. So a whole bunch of people their voice is never going to be heard again, right? It's over and over and over again. I know I'm going to take a little bit off of Sean G's video with Brown Dwarf, and they're talking about these teepee structures that are built overnight on beaches in Northern California and other places. No one ever sees Bigfoot. No one ever sees anything or anybody is doing it. Not even one lick of film. Not one. Not one. Just says no one's ever filmed a Bigfoot whacking on a tree with a club. Not one. If there are out there, they're very good with hiding it. I mean, they're so good at hiding the footage that they're better at hiding the footage of a Bigfoot whacking on a tree than they are at wiping their bums, pretty much. So I don't believe that this is even close to being the case. So that was shouts out to Chris. He's an artist and he's trying to build, make a name for himself with his art. He's good at art. I might as well show you people his Facebook or page. You can see some of his art. He sent me an image and he said, I don't know it was for me. I guess it was for me. I don't know if he did it actually for me or he just sent it for me. And someday I wouldn't mind doing a show with him, but yeah, the imaginations of men, the summoning of these things.
It's a little more populated with people. You know, there's bigger towns here. The bigger towns in the county are up this way. Um, but this particular area, like I said, has history, and I would notice these structures pop up overnight. It seemed like, and so I started documenting and monitoring these areas and these structures, and I noticed sometimes they would pop up overnight. And this is all driftwood, as you can see here, and I see an X, and it's like a teepee, obviously, and then you see a couple of logs there shoved in the ground, and we've seen these types of structures in different places. I don't think this would hold a Bigfoot or anything. You know, it's a small. I mean, it's pretty big, but it's not huge, you know. But who knows? I don't know what they use them for, what they do it for, or if they did it. I do believe people do make them as well. You know, there's a lot of what I call groovy people in the area. A lot of open-minded people up in Northern California that like to do stuff like this. I would imagine, you know. But living
Yeah.
there, I've never known anyone. I would ask people, and I wouldn't. I've never really had anyone tell me that. Yeah, they would do it, but so anyway, this particular area also there was no driftwood in this area, Sean. So usually where I find the structures, you know, there's evidence of like driftwood being washed up. So whoever built this brought this material in from some other side of the beach, and it's quite a
Right.
distance where the driftwood is. So I found that pretty bizarre, and this was one of those things that was kind of like overnight, so I know that it's happening during the nighttime. It seems like.
So how large is this structure? You know that
Um,
center mass. What mass there? How big is that?
the we call I call it the steeple. A buddy of mine kind of calls them the steeple. That middle piece that sticks up, or the antenna, I call
Yeah.
it sometimes. That's pretty high up. I'd say that's probably maybe 20 feet, bro. So that's a big piece there. But everything else, and as far as like sometimes there'll be like I noticed two entrances inside of like the teepee structure sometimes, or it'll just be one, but the entrances won't be big at all, and but sometimes they're huge.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
looks
dude,
like you got invited by.
I would love
Yeah.
to go fishing with Stimulate down in Santa Cruz, man, for sure. And I heard that's one of the places that's getting pummeled with the storms, man.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. So did, I'm sure you went and investigated around that steeple, whatever you want to call it. Did you
Yes.
find any footprints that were non-human or anything
No,
that
there
was?
was more like impressions. There weren't actual like footprints. So like no, there was
Okay.
no toe definition or any of that stuff, but you could tell there was like impressions of something walking around there. And once again, people do come to this beach, so it could be people. And I have seen people's prints at the beach and dogs and whatnot. So I try to definitely pay attention to that and factor that in. You know.
So could just rule out, could a human or humans, how many humans could it take to make something like that? I'm sure they'd have to have some sort of vehicle to drag out there.
Yeah, well, I think the bizarre thing, one of the bizarre things is the material being brought in, because I have no idea where the hell, unless that little bit of material just happened to wash up on in that particular area, they used whatever they had. But that I found that very weird. And the other thing that it popped up overnight. And like I said, you know, I'm sure people do party. I've partied on these beaches at night, and you know, people when they think California, you think California beaches packed, you know, and they are Southern California, and probably
Mm.
Central California, but Northern California is a lot more rural, so you don't get as many people as you would think, you know, in a California beach. But like I said, some of the people up here are trippy and they do trippy things, and you know, a lot of artists, and like I said, open minded, and and weird and strange and nice, groovy people, man. And so
Yeah.
I could imagine, you know, them doing stuff like this. And so glad I thought of this. This another thing that comes to mind. So in this particular area, there's not around here, but a little further up from here, there's a parking lot, and there's this guy that we know. He's a family friend. He actually lives in the parking lot in a trailer, and he kind of like takes care of that part of the beach and the parking lot there. And I asked him about the structures because there were some popping up in his area there. And he says that he has no idea who the hell builds them, but he notices that they just happen to pop up overnight as well, and that they get washed up sometimes, or he'll notice that people will, and I've noticed people will like kind of add on to it. I have found people inside of them, and I do question the people when I do find them, and they have no idea either.
Okay. Well, let's change it up. I'm going to switch over
go
to another app here. We'll go. There's footprints. This next one is a footprint.
So ironically, the video that Chris Miller shared with me, Sean shared in his show tonight, of this black silhouetted Bigfoot looking thing popping out of a tree. And Sean calls it peekaboo, or tree peepers would call it. You know, they call them tree devils, tree spirits, tree apes. We're looking at another example of this, and just pay good attention to how the size of this entity is, and how amazingly there's no legs.
Good one. Let me turn down the audio. I think this one actually has some audio attached to it.
Okay.
This goes along with the peekaboo Canadian stories I told just a while ago. So you've got this thing, whatever this is, 15 seconds long. So this is peeking around.
No,
And of course, this dude's thicker than a Snicker too.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
Maybe, but how you could probably say that his hand is around the side of that left side of the trunk.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But he kind of peeks around, but he doesn't do the disappearing act, I think. I'll hazard.
Well, he does. We don't have enough video to know about that. But another perfect example of how these things come out of the trees. The spirits. Notice how black it is, too. Very black.
You're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you are going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind.
Take me there. I won't break. I feel watching.